Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way.
Taking my sweet time, feels right, living in the moment, yeah, 'cause I know where I'm going, I'm taking my sweet time, it's time.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Pitch Perfect is over. Like my dad always said, if you're not here to win, get the hell out of Kuwait.
There will be no more wasting time with school or boyfriends. Can I trust you will add your own cardio?
Yeah, no, don't put me down for cardio.
What are you doing?
Horizontal running.
Are you guys getting ready for the riff off?
What's a riff off?
Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey Mickey.
Shorty, get down, good lord. Strictly bitch, you don't play around. Cover much ground, got game by the pound. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I gotta bag it up, baby.
Let's remix this business.
What boring estrogen-filled set have you prepared for us?
Hey, Amy!
Who's just being shot? You guys are going to get pitch slapped so hard, your man boobs are going to concave.
I I like the way you work it.
I have a feeling we should kiss.
I sometimes have a feeling I can do crystal meth, but then I think, better not.
Pete,
Hi, Andy.
this is going to be a big series, and we just need to get all of this out of the way right now before we begin.
What is that?
You have an effusive love and passion for a cappella, perhaps because you had some experience doing this. So I think we need to start setting the stage for this series.
Oh, my God.
Your
I don't
history
even know where to begin.
with a cappella.
Oh, God. I was Ben Platt.
Well,
I was a
let's
young
start
Ben
here.
Platt.
Let's. But you have to sing it all. You have to sing all of this.
Okay. What do you want to know?
When I was 17.
What do you want to know?
All right. So, first question. What was the name of the a cappella group you were in?
Well, there are a couple. So when I started, I started at Drew University, which is in Madison, New Jersey, and my opening weekend was exactly the experience that they have in the movie, where all the freshmen in freshman orientation are sitting in this big auditorium, and the college a cappella group shows up and comes on stage. And in this case, in the movie, it's the Troublemakers. In my case, it was 36 Madison Avenue. And they got up and they just blew us away. And I knew right then, this is what I have to do. Is that so weird? Like, it's so weird. And so I auditioned and I made it. I was one of two that made it into the auditions. And we didn't have to do any sacrifices, drinking the blood of those who have come before us. But it became my fraternity. Like, I didn't have to pledge Greek or anything because that was who I was. So I was with them for 2 years, and then I transferred to University of Colorado, where I joined. I actually formed with a couple of other guys. University of Colorado's In the Buff, which is a weirdly ridiculous and yet perfect name for University of Colorado a cappella group.
Well, and we should just say that's because the mascot is the buffalo.
And we were cheeky, and we thought, and so the icon, one of the other co-founders, his brother's an artist, and he drew our logo, which was a buffalo that has been shaved, standing on its hind legs, crossing its junk.
Crossing its privates, yes.
Crossing the buffalo privates. Yeah. So I was with that, and I was within the Buff, and that's when we started competing. When I was with Madison Avenue, that's an East Coast group. And so I was singing with Vassar College and Tufts and Boston University. And like, we were touring all over. We toured down to Washington, D.C. and up into Rhode Island. And we did, they have these a cappella, like regional universities have like shared stage shows. And so we do these big a cappella events and schools would come join us for a big concert. Ours was called Acapalooza, or no, the first that was at Colorado. Ours at Drew was Jam Festorama, because that's what you do, and it ran for many years. And so that's really fun. And so, like, these groups that are in this movie, like the UVA Hullabaloos, like, we were on stage with them, and the Beelzebubs, which we'll talk about, we shared a stage with them, and we know those guys. And so the people behind the music of this movie, like, I know these guys. And along the way at University of Colorado, I actually was one of the finalists for the Best of College a cappella Comedy album for our skit, Master Pete's Theater, where I read a mashup of hard rock and hip hop lyrics in dramatic poetry style, backed by a trio doing classical music. And it was hugely popular at the Boca competition, but it was like a solo gig, and they dismissed it because most of the group is sitting down and watching it. So that was a bummer, but almost there. And the guy who actually gave me the black ball was a guy named Deke Sharon, who is the arranger and producer of the music behind this movie. So Deke Sharon and I go way back. Anyway, so that was it. So 2 groups over a number of years, still very much in touch with the In the Buff guys. And the 36 Madison Avenue guys, I've been to 2 reunions with them. Notable alumni, right after I left, James Vanderbeek of Dawson's Creek fame actually joined 36 Madison Avenue. And the word is he wasn't very nice and nobody likes him to come to reunions. So, so he did not do well in the group.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I don't know. Did I just vomit too much there? What else do you want to know?
No, that's great. Okay, so a few questions about the world of a cappella, just to help. I mean, obviously, I think you're right, because, I mean, when I started college, we met at University of Colorado in Boulder, but I was there from freshman on, and you had started the other place.
So you would have known the University of Colorado buffoons. They were old.
The buffoons, certainly. But this is my question for you. In this film, we have the troublemakers. We see the what is it, the tone hangers? That's the old.
Well, the tone hangers, they're graduated.
They're the graduated ones.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying we see them.
We see them.
And I'm trying to remember what are some of the other.
The high notes.
The high notes. There's obviously the Bellas. There were a few other groups.
And then there was the group. I can't remember the name of the group that always sings Madonna. Why can't I remember their name? I love them. No, I can't remember their name, but that was another group that really principally sings Madonna songs. That was a co-ed group. So we have the single-gendered groups, the Bellas, the female group, the troublemakers, and the men's group. The mixed group is the Madonna group, and then the high group is also a mixed group. And that's very much the culture of a cappella at the time. Like until pretty recently, there were single-gendered groups and co-ed groups, and now we're seeing more fluidity across groups. So it's all good.
Harmonics, high notes, sockapellas. I mean, there's all these cute names. And, you were in the buff, there was the buffoons. And I guess this is my first question for you. Is it becoming like just a standard thing for a cappella groups, college a cappella groups, to come up with incredibly cheeky names? I mean, they don't all have them, but certainly like the treble makers, you get stuff like that. And I'm like, this is totally like college a cappella. I mean, I feel, because I know there was a point even at the University of Colorado where it was like an all-campus, a cappella concert where all the different a cappella groups came together. And there were, 5 or 6 different groups that performed. And I felt like they all had some sort of cheeky name. And I just feel like it is such a thing that they do. And I find that it's very funny that it is such an a cappella thing. Do you feel like that is pretty standard? Like, are there any names that stand out to you as like, that is one of the great names in the world of a cappella?
No. There are, no. The reason is, I think that you have to understand that when these groups are formed, they're formed by people who are 18 to 20 years old, like 21 years old. They're not like brilliant branding agents at this point. Like all these groups who have been around for decades and decades, their name is the legacy part, right, of the experience. And they were children when they came up with those names. So most of those names are names of regret that they formed the names when they formed the group. And then 4 years later, they're like, why the hell did we do this? This is really dumb. And so it's, I think we can joke about it, but we just have to remember who was coming up with this stuff. Like these groups, we're going to talk more about the Tufts Beelzebubs. The female group at Tufts is the Jackson Jills, the Jacks and Jills, Jackson Jills. Like, I mean, the play on words is kind of fun, but come on, like they're not great. And, these names, now that these groups, thanks to, internet, have become bigger, shows like the Sing Off, movies and series like Pitch Perfect, like more and more of these groups are getting, are of like big renown, like they're of great renown and in across musical circles. And now they have to live with these names that are dumb. So.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, and like Ben Folds did a whole album where he performed a bunch of songs with a cappella groups,
right?
And what's that a cappella group that I love so much that has the they do the Christmas song with
Straight
where
No
it breaks
Chaser?
into Toto's Africa? Yes,
yeah.
when it turns into that, it cracks me up.
See, Straight No Chaser was a college group that they're the tone hangers of college a cappella. Like they were a college group and they just decided, let's not stop being an a cappella group. And so they're still an a cappella group, which is great. Like that's awesome. The legendary groups like Pentatonics, the Pentatonics was they were high school kids, and they just skipped the college scene and became a bigger group. So Pentatonics, like you look at their name, I think their name has more brand appeal than most of the college groups because.
Well, it was more. It was named more after the number of them. Than,
it's named after the number of them, and it's named with the intention to mass market their a cappella. So I think that's important to note.
Yeah.
So that's terrible.
So here's another question for you. I don't know, okay, what do you call it? Like when you mash up, like you do these mashups of songs where they kind of two songs or multiple songs kind of blending together. Is this something that started in the world of a cappella? Because I know it was popular like in Glee and stuff, but I was like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's something I generally hear in a cappella, but then also that. And so like, cause they do it plenty of times in this film. And I don't mean like, there's that point where they're doing the sing off where like one group sings and then another tries to cut in. It's not that.
That's
it's
the
like
riff
when
off.
one person, the riff off where one person's singing or a group is singing, but then they start singing another song layered over the top of it.
Yeah, that is, it's really hard to say when that like, it happened because, DJs have been doing that for generations, right? I mean, it's been around a long time. I think the thing about a cappella mashups is borrowing that sort of thing from the DJ culture and putting it into a cappella. And that is largely thanks to the album, I think, Foster Street, released in 1991, produced and music directed by Deke Sharon, who was a member of the Tufts Beelzebubs at the time. It is a Tufts album. And they did Comfortably Numb Brain Damage mashup, and it's extraordinary. That album, in fact, you can find it. You can't find it, I don't think, anywhere other than bubs.com anymore. You can't find it on like Apple Music. I don't think it's on Spotify. But you can listen to it on their website, and you can hear that album is largely credited for the modern a cappella sound. And so you look at what this movie, I think arguably wouldn't exist as it is without Foster Street, produced by Deke Sharon, who produced this music. Like that movie is the transformation between The Sign and everything else that comes later in this movie. It is the cultural sort of breaking point that says we can do cooler things with our mouths than what we have been doing. And that was all Foster Street. Like that's what gave everybody ideas. And so that's when I that album came out and boom, we were starting an a cappella group. And so it really defined the music that we started doing too.
Because a cappella, I mean, because even like the world of like beatboxing and stuff, like, I mean, I don't know the history of a cappella, but I certainly feel like there was the barbershop quartet, like, and that kind of that set kind of a stage of what a cappella could do, like having multiple voices just kind of singing in harmony together. I mean, obviously there's choirs
it starts
and all that
with
sort of
church
thing.
And Latin and chant and that stuff.
But like, but once you get into kind of like the pop and the performance and stuff like that, these specific things, I don't
a lot
remember
of Motown. Like there's a lot of Motown, these wonderful, just sort of kind of R&B, pre-R&B, like street singing, Billy Joel was a huge fan of it, right? This was like that sort of R&B, like street corner stuff that wasn't barbershop, right? It definitely had its own vibe. And that I think is even more of a sort of predecessor to modern a cappella.
And then, but like, when did like the beatboxing? Because that seemed to be something that, like, I don't remember hearing. I guess when I think of a cappella groups, like back in my high school and younger days, I don't feel like there was much of that. I feel like it's something that started coming, probably, I don't know, as a hip hop thing that kind of led into that.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. Yeah, and that again is Foster Street. Like Foster Street is the first one that had songs with dedicated vocal percussionists, right? Like where you said, okay, this song, you're not making notes, you're making mouth sounds, and in some cases body sounds, right? So that's it.
Yeah, and you look at stuff like Michael Winslow and Police Academy, and I suppose you could say there's a little bit of the start with that, like the sounds you can make with your mouth and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Now just do it in meter, right? Like,
right.
And you can accompany. So
exactly. So all of this, I guess, is just setting the stage for this, because this takes place, present day 2012. So a cappella had been a thing for a while,
long time,
on campuses. And so by the time Becca arrives at this college, much to her chagrin, and she goes, through the kind of the activity fair and everything, which, yes, is very much a college sort of thing. All of those tables and everything. Boy, I remember walking through the student center and just seeing all those tables those first couple weeks of school. And everybody is pitching you, trying to get you to join whatever it is, fraternities, choirs, sports, you name it, they're all there.
I don't want to make this all about me. We will talk about the movie, but I just have to say, like, that reflection right there, when these two characters are standing behind this table pitching people to join their a cappella group after everyone else has graduated, right? So they're down to 2 people, is exactly my experience. I'm walking down the loggia, and there are 2 guys who want to start an a cappella group and have no idea how to do it. And they say, "Hey, do you sing?" Like, they don't know me. They just managed to catch eye contact. And that's how this group was born, because I was the only one who had any a cappella experience. And so the 3 of us got together and created this group. But that's exactly how it happened. Like, that's why I watched this movie, and so much of it they got right. It's over glamorized, but so much of this movie is accurate. And it starts with that pitch. So I think that's really fun.
Well, and I think that comes because it's the whole thing is largely based off of 2 things. It's Mickey Rapskin's nonfiction book, Pitch Perfect, The Quest for Collegiate A Cappella Glory, which followed, I'm going to forget the schools that he followed.
The Hullabaloos.
Yeah, the Tufts. Yeah, Tufts, Beelzebubs, which they pull for the troublemakers. University of Oregon, DeVisi, which was an inspiration for the Bella. DeVici. Mm-hmm. Really? D-I-V-I-S-I?
No, that's just the way it's, no, you're right. I think it is DeVisi. They, we interviewed one of the founding members of DeVisi on our old show, Acoustic Conversations. She's still a musician here in Portland, and she's delightful. So, yeah, they're really, really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the University of Virginia Hullabahoos.
Hullabahoos.
Yep. Which they also perform in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I think in one of the...
They have they're wearing the Technicolor dream coats. In the
right.
Yeah, that's
right.
The hubs.
So the book was all about, like, all of the singing and the people involved and partying and rivalries and all of that sort of stuff. And then also the director, Jason Moore, had come from the world of theater and kind of had this background. And so some of it was kind of based on his experience with kind of, that whole journey into college and kind of like the beginning of everything. So between those 2 things, I think there's kind of an interesting kind of setup for what we're going to do. And this is this time when a cappella is doing a lot of stuff, and these competitions are around, and these different groups see it as an opportunity to perform and make a name for themselves. And so I love the setup for it. I think that it works very well, creating this world that feels very lived in because of those foundations.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that it nails, this movie, is the tension that exists between the people who love a cappella and think that it's actually cool, and the people who are outside of a cappella and think that a cappella people are dorks. Like, there is a real, like, palpable tension between those 2 things, where a cappella, like the a cappella culture, is a thing that is cringeworthy to those who think it's cringeworthy, and a thing that is, like, identity defining to those who live inside of it. And I think this movie just nails that. Like, it nails the, like, sort of when you watch it from the outside, like, why do these people feel so strongly? Why does this woman feel so strongly that the tension drives her to projectile vomit on stage? Like, that kind of tension is I think they get it just right.
Although the side of the story that is people who are outside of it, who look at everybody like dorks, it's pretty minor. Like, that is a very small part of this. Mostly it's about the people in it and who love it. The only person that we get outside of it is Becca herself, who absolutely does not want to be a part of this thing, and really only kind of decides to become a part of it because, her father and kind of this deal with him and everything.
That's her call to action, right? She does it regretfully and then eventually participates.
Yeah, participate in a group of some sort, show him that you are going to try, and if you don't like it, then you can leave, go to LA and work at being a producer. A music producer. So that's what she does. And that's kind of, but that is largely, I mean, is there some other person that I'm forgetting? Because I feel like that's the only the only entry point we have outside of the world of acapella.
I think you're right. But I think there's the other piece of it is just the way they portray these characters, putting you, the audience member, in a position to have that feeling too, right? When you see the trebles singing Whip It in that sort of Rush Week environment, right? They're horrible. Like, they sound great. They sound amazing, but they're performatively like so aggro, and Bumper is awful. And yet they love what they're doing. They feel very strongly that what they're doing is cool. Yet at that point, because we're in that position of having just heard Becca describing this as not cool, we're looking at these guys, or I think I maybe have those reversed. But anyway, we're in a position of looking at these guys thinking, why is that cool as an audience? Like, they have to make a cappella cool for us as an audience member. And I think that is more what I'm referring to. Like, there's that transition that we make when we get to realize that a cappella is really, like, there's an expertise to it, and it's cool to watch and listen to.
Right. And I think that's a good point. Like, that she is the entry point. She is our audience surrogate. We're out here going, why is this cool at all? And through her eyes, then we're able to see, oh, they're actually doing some cool stuff, and they're able to, do these riff offs and all sorts of stuff that is pretty neat. So yeah, so that works well. So Becca, I mean, what do you think of kind of this journey that this character takes? I mean, she's, wants to be a music producer, really hates the fact that she's here. She's only here at this specific school at Barden because her dad is a professor here.
Yeah, she gets a free ride.
Right. And so she's here even though she wants to move to LA. I feel like this movie is so full of tropes, and here's one of them. The parent who doesn't buy into the child's dreams and wants them to get a real education before making any decisions.
I mean, did you connect with Dad? I did.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, I mean, just because it's a trope, I mean,
doesn't mean
we probably connect because it's a trope. It's
exactly. It's like we're wired to connect that way. So to Becca, I love Becca. I think Anna Kendrick is the perfect casting choice for this because, and apparently it was, I think Elizabeth Banks and Jason Moore, they saw her in Up in the Air and just like really connected with her there, as did we. She is delightful. There is a certain like awesome fiery physicality to her, and yet she's a diminutive person, and I think that conflict is really great because it means that when she's in positions of conflict with the rest of the group, or with Anna Camp, Aubrey in their early rehearsals, it's easy to see her back down, but it also really fun to see her later step up and take the role of leadership and just sort of be won over by the camaraderie of the group. I Love You, Awesome Nerds it's really a great transition for her, right? To realize that it's not really just about the music, but she's got some friends here that it developed accidentally. And I think Anna Kendrick just really pulls that off.
Yeah, she does. I think that's a big part of what she delivers here. And yes, I mean, it's her character journey that we're going through of being on the outside, looking at all of these people as nerds, as people doing this silly thing that she wants no part of, because she's a serious person who wants to just produce music.
Right.
Only to not only join and connect with the group, but also find this relationship that she's able to have with the, between the two people who are kind of heading it, Aubrey and Chloe, become the person who is able to help this group move past this stagnance that they're mired in into something that is new and different. And obviously, as we get to the end of the film, and it should come as no surprise, but they end up winning at the ICCA finals.
Yes. And let me just put just a bookmark here that the setup of her wanting to produce music is actually not paid off in this movie, but it is paid off in Pitch Perfect 2. And I really like that. There's a lot I don't like about Pitch Perfect 2, and even more I don't like about Pitch Perfect 3. But I really like the fact that they paid off her professional aspiration in Pitch Perfect 2 the way they did. So we're going to talk about that next week. But that setup starts here.
I'm not sure I've actually seen Pitch Perfect 2 or 3, actually.
Oh, Andy.
Like, I'm thinking about this. I'm like, have I seen... I don't think I have. I think I saw this one, and then I don't think I ended up seeing either of the others. So this will be, for me, a new experience. So I'm looking forward to it. So looking forward to discussing it when we pull that pin out.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe you agreed to this series.
Well, I really liked the first movie. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Good.
So,
well, and what I can say is there is still great music all the way out, all the way to the end.
I actually have the soundtracks for all 3.
Yeah, they're all very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy. Okay. And this is something like that. I mean, I loved, when you were performing a cappella in college, I enjoyed it then. I enjoy, all these different a cappella albums. I love, the films, what they do here, like the Glee, like all of those sorts of soundtracks. I really enjoy kind of that blend of music and what people are doing there. So, yeah, they're doing...
Okay, good.
They're doing good work in this.
Get ready. It's a fun ride. Here we go. So, okay, Scott, we talk about Becca. We need to pivot to Skylar Astin as Jesse, can we? Because they're the romantic duo, right? They're in this movie. They're set up as our couple.
Yes.
What do you think of Skylar?
I like him. He's an actor. I think I had only seen him in Hamlet 2, which I absolutely love.
One of your favorites. Why haven't we done that on this show?
I don't know. I've tried. I wanted to do a teacher series years ago, and we never quite got around to it. But that movie cracks me up to no end. I guess I saw him in Wreck-It Ralph, but he's not somebody like you don't call out Skylar Astin because he was a voice in Wreck-It Ralph.
Right.
So yeah, I haven't seen anything else that he's been in other than Hamlet 2, but I enjoy him as a performer. I think that he's great in the role here. I think he very much has that college energy and brings it, like right when we first meet him, like randomly singing at Becca out of the car door as they're standing there. It kind of like that's the sort of vibe that college is full of. Like every corner you pass or that you go around, there's another situation like this of just some random thing that just kind of happens because they're college students and everything,
Yeah, and it would be like so on brand, so on like hipster brand for him to be screaming out the car like a Kansas tune, right? Like that just feels on brand for him to be singing the hits of the 70s.
Well, and it kind of fits his character because as we get to know him, like he wants to be a film composer.
Yeah.
I love his little moment where he does the call out of all his classic, his film, I can't remember the 5 movies that are the tops for film scores, which I just love. And then also just this whole movie conversation that he kind of has several times with Becca about, Becca's not somebody who likes watching movies. She never makes it to the end. And then she finally watches Breakfast Club and gets it. And then incorporates "Don't You Forget About Me" into that final performance of theirs,
which is so great.
Oh, it is. It is great, but it's the blend. But it's like that the way that their relationship moves, and I actually felt like it was written with smarts. It didn't need to be oversimplified, and you have that moment when she tries to come and apologize to him, and he's like, you still don't get it, and like they have some sense of this of real people in both of these roles, and you don't get that final resolution until the end when she does sing that song and she's finally able to kind of get through those walls. And I think a lot of that, obviously Skylar is doing a great performance here. Kay Cannon, though, who is an incredible writer behind a lot of stuff like 30 Rock, she did a lot of that sort of stuff working with Tina Fey. Directed Blockers and is behind this, and she I think her writing is a reason a lot of these moments and these characters work as well as they do.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it is really like she just really gets into the voice and heads of these characters, not just our principal characters, but I think Benji Applebaum, like Ben Platt's portrayal of this is, and I don't know if you've gone through and watched the deleted scenes. There are many deleted scenes of Benji that were cut, and all of those scenes make this movie, Dear Evan Hansen, the prequel. Like, they just hammer home how sad one outsider could possibly be again and again and again. And if they had included all those, man, it would have been an incredibly rich part for Ben Platt to play, and we would have been devastated at the end of the movie. Like, it's just all these little paper cuts of just sadness of him being left out, overtly left out again and again. But I do think what we get out of him is a really lovely, like, kind of not quite so nuanced portrayal of somebody who is the outsider who just needs a group, and he's trying everything. He's trying Star Wars memorabilia. He's trying close-up magic. He's trying anything he can do, and a cappella is at the very top of that, which is another, back to our point about outsiders and making a cappella cool, that he starts as a vessel of somebody who loves a cappella is another example of, like, needing to win us over as the audience, because he's already an outsider. We see him as a supreme outsider, bringing all the toys to college. Like, that's not cool. And he loves this thing. Therefore, this thing can't be cool too. So I think he is another vector besides Becca at allowing us to make that transformation we talked about earlier. So I think he was great.
I mean, he was fine. I didn't watch the deleted scenes. I don't think there's a whole lot of him. And so to that end, like, you feel bad for the guy because he's kind of left out right at the beginning, even though he has this clear passion for it. And then it's just like, I don't know, as we were watching the film, suddenly we see that he's like working behind the scenes at one of the things. And like, people are still ignoring him. And I told my wife, I'm like, this is how somebody becomes a serial killer. Because
yes.
It's just like, he's so clearly constantly ignored.
Yeah.
And so, and I mean, even the story between his roommate, Jesse, and him, we don't get a lot. There's just not a lot put there for us. And so by the time he's finally brought in to replace Bumper, it's like, great, he finally gets his chance. I guess I didn't get as much out of him. I didn't know who Ben Platt was going into this, so I had no clue. It didn't mean anything to me that he was a character in the film or anything like that. And so to me, it was just like, oh, the lonely roommate who wants to sing finally gets to sing. Yay.
Well, and I think, that's a really good point. And I think I've probably headcanoned this because I've seen the deleted scenes, and there was much more of a story there.
Well, and you knew who Ben Platt was before
that's true.
The movie.
But there are so many opportunities for him to have, he's both proverbially or metaphorically and literally getting sand kicked in his face in this movie. And there are so many more opportunities for him that actually define how hard he's willing to work to become a part of this in-group, that when he finally gets that call to jump on stage, it feels earned. It feels like an earned twist. But I can totally see your point that as the movie is released, as it was released, you probably don't get enough to make that case.
Yeah, there's really not a lot. And I mean, it's like, I should backtrack a little bit. For some reason, I thought he was doing stuff like Dear Evan Hansen before the movie came out, but that was actually after the movie.
That was after.
Book of Mormon is what he was doing.
Yep.
I guess it would have been right around the time the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2012.
But I mean, clearly, like, they found him because he has serious chops, and he gets to demonstrate them just a little bit. There is one scene where he shows up at the riff-off in the pool, and then the trebles Bumper comes up and kicks him out, says, "You're not allowed to be in the pool. You're not a treble." And he's standing on the drain, and he says, "I just had to get one opportunity to hear myself in the sweet spot," and he sings really loud, and it reverberates over the pool and everything. Everybody kind of looks at him like, "Oh, wow." That scene, both, he sounds great, and two, that scene is the setup for, you have a spot. Like, Bumper's out, and everybody else agreed, if you don't act weird, you can come sing with us. But you get it in the riff-off when he's there, but that was cut. And it's such a short scene. I couldn't figure out why they would do that, because I think that's the setup to what is paid off later.
Yeah, there's so little of him left in the film that, as somebody who had no idea who he was before or after, like I wouldn't have even, he's not somebody I followed. I mean, I've never seen Dear Evan Hansen, Book of Mormon. I haven't seen any of these shows that he's a part of. And so I think this may have been the only thing I've seen him in, believe it or not. And so to that end, I'm like, there's just not much here. And I'm left feeling like, meh, oh well.
Yeah.
Like, give me more with the Bellas. They're really who I'm interested in. And the relationship between Becca and Jesse. Also, like, there was, some, I don't know, just the stuff with her at work. Like, I found like there was interesting elements in other parts of the film that I was more interested in than any of the drama around Benji.
Yeah. And so speaking of the girls, we should probably talk about them. Otherwise, you might think that we think that this movie is about the troublemakers.
All right. Yeah. So, okay. What do you think of how the film starts? We start off, we're at the ICCA regionals, and we see the troublemakers perform first. Mm-hmm. They're great. Then we have the Bellas come out, and already the two judges who they're not judges.
Amazing commentators.
They're not judges. The commentators, yeah, right. John Michael Higgins and Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
Which I definitely want to, there's something to put a pin because I want to talk about them a little bit. But we have the Bellas come up, and already the two commentators are completely bored. It sounds like this is something that they've done the same song many a time, and they start performing it. And as soon as Aubrey is given her chance or her solo, she projectile vomits a ridiculous quantity across like the first three rows.
Slapstick quantity. Let's just say.
I mean, it is ridiculous how much she vomits. I mean, it's funny, but it also, I was like, I feel like they just went way too far suddenly, like out of the gate with this movie. Like, it plays for you? Because I mean, I don't know. It was just, it's funny. It's just like, my God, that was a lot of vomit, and clearly so CG. It wasn't like, maybe I wouldn't have had as much a problem if it was
CG. It wasn't CG. It was piped. It was a piped projectile vomit.
We're looking weird. She's doing it like into our face.
Oh yeah, I guess that scene they had to have done something. But you can watch the behind the scenes stuff, and you see her piped, and she's vomiting it on the crowd. So there must have been some augmentation done to it, but they did that scene, and she is interviewed saying, I was incredibly nervous about doing this, because how do you vomit comedically on stage? Here's my take. Like, it's not unheard of to have somebody get so nervous that they vomit on stage. Like, that's not unheard of. And there's something going on with your voice and your lungs and your diaphragm and things. Like, when you're nervous, things get triggered. And if you're not just right, you could throw up on stage. But when you just throw up on stage, it's gross. It's terrible and sad and pathetic, and you need to be taken care of. And it's terrible. It's not funny. Like, they had to amp it up. Like, the rest of this movie is just completely amped up in order to set like that this is an alternate universe that where gross happens, sad and pathetic doesn't, and so I feel like I really connect with what the comedy that they were going for.
You connect with the vomit.
I connect with the vomit.
There's one thing you love, it's on-screen vomit.
They level it up even more in the rehearsal room when Hannah Mae Lee falls back in it and starts making vomit angels during their big climactic fight, where I can't handle that. Like, that triggers so many like germ anxieties that it's just very hard to watch. But that's the whole point, right? Like, that's the point of the vomit, and it's slapstick.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I watching it again, I'm like, oh, I had forgotten about this vomit and how intense it was.
Yeah. Right.
It was
intense.
a lot.
And it's very surprising because it's before the credits, right? It's before we open. And so it sets the stage for the past. It sets the stage for, like, the Bellas were already in trouble because their reputation was tradition. It's really important to note that when you see both the trebles and the Bellas on stage together, what they're going for in the adaptation from the book is both of these groups were the Tufts Beelzebubs in the book. that the Beelzebubs pre-1991 were the Bellas, landing on tradition. They were doing only the same songs over and over, and they did them very, very well, but they were like in the tradition of jazz, vocal, barbershop, those kinds of things. And after 1991, they became the Troublemakers. So in that way, like, we actually get to watch the transformation of this one group as told through these two groups on screen. And I think it's really great that we get to see that, because every group goes through this. Every single group goes through this. Like, you don't come out of the gate not at somewhere saying, we don't stray from tradition. We don't stray from tradition is such BS. Like, we don't stray from tradition because we're boring, because we don't have any better ideas right now, because we don't have the talent to arrange the way we need to. Like, it's such a weird combination of effects that go into making great music.
And you hear that a lot where they succeed, and so they're like, well, this clearly works, let's stick with it.
Yeah.
And that is another thing. It's like that becomes, quote, tradition, but really it's just because we did so great that first time, and it'll keep us going, but it rarely does.
Yeah, we'll be able to recapture that feeling every time. Yeah. So that's the vomit scene, and we get to see them doing I Saw the Sign.
I just want to say, tvtropes.org mentions vomit 5 times, and these are the tropes it has under. Misery builds character. So that's the first one. It's also listed as a running gag. Sequel escalation. I haven't seen it, so I'll have to wait till we get to the next one so we can talk about how the projectile vomiting is escalated in the sequel.
Okay.
Stress vomiting. That is by itself a trope.
Yep.
And last but not least, the vomit indiscretion shot. She does this twice, plus the video of the first frame. We don't get the trope of the freeze frame bonus, but we do get the video clip replaying it as they watch it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I love the vomit. I love the vomit. Put it on a shirt.
Only if it includes Lily doing the vomit angels.
Yeah,
I
right.
love the vomit.
Yeah, so bad. Well, and that is Anna Camp, and as Aubrey, who's doing the vomiting, and I think she's lovely. It's really interesting the way they put these characters together, and I think probably casting Aubrey was hard because she is such an alpha in the group, and Becca is also kind of an alpha herself, right? And so being able to have these two characters that are both sympathetic, but can like dance around this rank in the group with each other, the sort of social rank, I think is really interesting. And I think to that end, the casting was perfect.
It's interesting that you say Aubrey was sympathetic, because I feel like there is the way that it's set up. We have kind of like, there's obviously the antagonist in general. It's kind of like the Troublemakers, and largely it feels like Bumper is kind of the antagonist, and then he suddenly disappears. So it's like, it's an interesting way that they kind of crafted the antagonist of the film. I'm not exactly sure who you would call the antagonist of the film at that point, really.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's Aubrey. Like, Aubrey feels like the one who is designed to be the antagonist, the one who will not let this group change. It has to be, we have to stick with tradition. We cannot change. And she really feels like she's not sympathetic. Like, it's really hard to identify with her. But then we do get the change. Like, she actually does go through that change and learns to kind of let go. And so it's interesting that in a film where Becca also is the one who, I guess you could almost say, it's an interesting script. Like, who's really changing? A lot of people are changing in the script. Becca goes through her change, but really it's like, it's a different kind of change. Like, she has to learn how to connect with people, how to open herself up to doing something, and, using what she does well in the context like this group. Aubrey has to go through this change of like letting go of what they've been doing and open herself up to trying something new. And so it's interesting that you have these different shifts through the story.
I picked that line for the opening line, like my father says, if you're not here to win, get the hell out of Kuwait. Because I think those, like when she drops those kinds of things and the rest of the group looks at her like, wow, those are the signals that she has baggage coming to her sort of tyrannical sort of leadership of this group that we don't understand. And we don't necessarily need to understand. But for me, I hear those things and I automatically get this sense that I need to have some sympathy for her, because she's not just driven like a cartoon character, right? She's driven because she is in many ways broken. She's broken from the first scene. Somebody who is not so driven to compete and to win doesn't have the same level of stress that leads them to vomit on stage, right? That way. Like there is a level of sort of sociopathy in her competition that is pretty dark, and that comes from someplace, and it's hidden in these little lines, these little teases from Kay Cannon that I think are really great at giving Aubrey more texture, maybe than she even deserves in this movie, and certainly fodder to work off of in subsequent movies, sort of. We'll see what you think. But I think that those are the lines that earn her the transition when she effectively hands the pitch pipe to Becca. But not at that point, literally the pitch pipe, because it's covered in vomit. So I think that's it. I think that's great. I think Ann Camp plays that really, really well.
Well, that's a hard thing for a writer to do when you have an antagonistic character like Aubrey who is going to go through a change. You have to give them those moments. You have to write those little nuggets in the dialogue and in the way that her character is crafted. So when she does go through that change, you feel like, okay, it's earned. I could tell there was something more there. It's just now she's finally able to let go. And that can be a hard thing to do, because otherwise you have an antagonist who just makes a change and suddenly you're like, why is this? I don't buy that this person just went through this transformation. And so we needed that. We needed those bits that Kay had put into the script.
Yeah, I think so too. And now we get to add this sort of third element in the little leadership trio, which is Brittany Snow as Chloe, who is the co-leader of the Bellas and sort of shares the dynamic between Aubrey and Becca. What'd you think of Brittany Snow? And when do you want to talk about the shower scene?
Well, that's a very funny scene, and it is a very interesting way to kind of immediately put Becca off her guard, and in a situation that's like, forcing you have to sing for me or I'm not going to move, and we're both naked standing in the shower. Like, it plays very funny, very tense, and then the fact that guy kind of pops in at the end is just like, it was very funny. And it's interesting the way they kind of portray her character, and they give her kind of these I don't know, she's very sympathetic. I really like her as a character. She clearly sees some things that need to change and everything. Like, I enjoy the way that she's doing that, and the challenge she has of going up against Aubrey. And so all of it works really well. I don't know how much of a fan I am of her, like, developing a serious bass note when she goes through getting her nodes removed. Like, I'm like, oh, that's kind of silly. I mean, it's fine, I guess. It's, that sets up one of the Chekhov tropes, if I may, real quick.
Yeah, please. Chekhov's bass.
That sets up the Chekhov's gun for this. At the very beginning, with the commentators, you have John talking about how no all-girl a cappella group can make it because they can't hit the bass notes. And then, of course, Chloe is able to hit the bass notes after that. So there's our Chekhov's gun that you have, the setup and payoff.
I love it. I love that scene. I love that song. I love the dynamic between the two. I love how effortlessly it demonstrates Chloe's confidence, and that she calls it out. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of all this. Like, she's just fantastic at it. And I don't know, is there another trope for the shower audition, Andy? Is that a thing that exists on TV tropes? Because we get that in a number of places, right? It's a Glee thing. We get that again in Glee. I'm sure we have more than just these two of shower audition scenes in movies and TV. I have never seen that happen in real life. I'm not saying it doesn't. This movie gets enough right that I'm willing to let that go, that somebody has actually seen the accidental audition in a shower. It's where people sing, so I guess it makes sense. But, for me, it just worked in the movie. I've never seen it play out.
The only other movie I can think of is Elf, where
totally.
Zoe Deschanel's character is singing and Will Ferrell hears her and joins in with one of the worst Christmas songs ever. But that's what they connect over. On the TV Trope website, they do have it listed a few times. Shower, duet bonding. Chloe sort of forces Becky into this by singing in the shower. Girl on girl is hot. I
don't care for that as much.
It's the trope. It is the trope. The guy Chloe is with in the shower is gleefully grinning at Becca, heavily suggesting either this or a desire for a threesome.
Yeah.
Either way, both girls are not having it. Third up, Ms. Fan Service. Becky and Gloa fit this to a T in the shower scene where both spend almost the entire scene naked and have a mini conversation about masturbation. You have the shoulders up nudity done to imply nudity in the women's shower. The shower scene, which is the infamous duet bonding. Shower of love. When Becca goes to take a shower, 2 pairs of feet belonging to a man and a woman can be seen in a shower stall. So we have that, and then you have the take that.
Don't Google shower of love, please. Don't ever do that.
And then you have take that, and this ties into Glee, the discovering in the shower scene. That's where they do that. So those are the shower tropes listed in Pitch Perfect.
Okay, all right. Well, the scene plays for me. And they sound great, and showers make people sound great, even in their own heads. So I'm for it. It's a good way for them to discover, and of course, it leads us to the incredibly popular reveal of a song that nobody had really ever heard until this movie, and made it famous, which is "Cups," Becca's audition song. That was it was. There's got to be a trope in there too, right? Which is the last minute audition trope. Like, oh wait, there's one more trope.
Oh, I'm sure
because everybody was done with the group audition. And I should say, group auditions. It's interesting that the high notes are, I think, agents of chaos in the Barden a cappella universe, and the other group we don't get very much of. But having a group audition is a sign of a really mature a cappella community on campus, right? That everybody auditions for all the groups, and then the groups get to pick. That's not how a campus with 4 groups would ever do these auditions. I think you'd have to have more groups.
Yeah, it seemed weird to me because also it's like this is a campus where I think there was only one co-ed group, right?
Yeah.
And so
no, 2.
It's like
the High Notes were co-ed too. High Notes and the Madonna group.
Oh, right. Okay. So I guess in that case, but still, it's just like, it seemed like if you're going to do something like this, the way that you would structure it. And again, this is just, me being the realist about it, but you'd have all the men audition first and then all the women audition second. And then any a cappella groups that are only looking for men would just be there for the first half. Any are there looking for the women to be there for the second half. And anyone who's co-ed would be there for the whole thing. Like it doesn't make sense for the male and female only groups to have to listen to people that wouldn't fit into their group.
The thing is, you are a professional producer and I would say expert in logistics and management of such things. And I think you forget our earlier point. I'd like to call back. College kids are idiots and don't know how to do things yet. So
yeah, especially when it's being run by McLovin. It's like, why is he even here? He's not in any of the groups. Like that whole thing was strange. It's like, I don't understand how this university is set up where he and this other person who don't sing are actually in charge of all the a cappella groups. I didn't get that.
Well,
other than it just being
it is funny, and McLovin is funny, and his buddy is funny, and I think that's fine. But I also think it goes to again back to a cappella culture, that there are people who love it so much and can't be in it themselves, and so they support it. And that's Ben Platt's character. That's these 2 guys running auditions, and the riff off, because it's the buddy who runs the riff off. Like it's these people who are peripheral to it, who are just fans, but don't have the skill or the natural ability to do it. And so they have other ways to contribute. And I think that's what they're trying to show, that the community is bigger than just the people who sing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even the people who can't sing find ways to be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about When I'm Gone, the song that is part of this whole Cups thing.
Yep.
Which I'll tell you, my daughter learned how to do the whole cup thing. She taught me how to do the whole cup thing. Like, it was a thing for kids to know how to do that.
If I didn't have coffee in this cup, I would do it for you right now, Andy.
Yeah.
Tick, 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 cup, tick, tick.
What I found so interesting is that, like, the song When I'm Gone, I didn't know this. It was like the Carter family, like A.P. Carter wrote this, and it was called When I'm Gone in 1931 is when the song was made. And they had it like it was an Appalachian folk song, and it had been around for quite a while. And then it was this YouTube version that ended up playing, and I think a version of it with the whole cups thing that went viral on Reddit. That's what Anna Kendrick saw.
Yeah.
And she kind of brought that. Originally, she was supposed to do I'm a Little Teapot, which is funny, but also not that clever of an idea. And I think this ends up being something that's a lot more unique and obviously turned into a whole thing.
As someone who has sat through auditions many a time, I can tell you I'm a Little Teapot is a go-to song for auditions because people go into vapor lock. I'm not kidding. That's people will sing I'm a Little Teapot. They'll sing the ABCs. They'll sing whatever. Because one of the things that groups invariably ask is, here's a song we want you to sing. And then we'll do some exercises like pitch matching and harmonizing, improvisational harmonizing. And then we'll say, now sing us a shower song. Just a song you love and you love to sing in the shower. And there are people who will go into complete vapor lock. They won't know what song to bring. And so they come with I'm a Little Teapot.
Wow. But have you thought maybe that person really does sing I'm a Little Teapot in the shower?
I like to hope that they do, because if you really can't think of a song you sing in the shower, do you really want to join a group that is dedicated to singing naked in showers? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you something. Like, this whole idea just really throws me because I'm a terrible person when it comes to lyrics. Mm-hmm. Like, I can do tunes well, but with lyrics, like when they're doing this riff off, I'm like, how do they just have all of those songs casually sitting in the back of their head, ready to throw out? Like, I don't know. I could never, ever do that.
When she breaks out No Diggity, right? Like, that is epic. That she gets through that entire verse and part of the chorus before Rebel Wilson joins in without just locking up on the lyrics. That's not me. I need much more practice before something like that. Terrible.
I didn't even know what that song was until like they got going with it. I'm just like, I have no idea what she's doing, but she's clearly doing something. So
yeah, totally.
It's impressive. Yeah.
Yep.
No, but I think that speaks to kind of just the tone that they create with this film of the sort of people that make up this community and what they're doing. And when you see things like the riff off or the way that she's blending the songs, like, I feel like they're creating an authentic world of collegiate a cappella, and I really enjoy that.
I think so too. And again, legit, like, this is how a cappella groups have fun together. Like, this is how they find joy. And
did you do riff offs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a legit thing. It was we never really called it the riff off, but it was like, when I was singing, what was popular, like the Blues Travelers, like Hook, and like those kinds of songs where if there are multiple groups that know the same set of songs, and this after you've sung together on stage, you take turns like passing it around. So one group will start singing it, another group will pick up their version of it, and you just kind of go round robin. You pick up, you switch songs. Like, it's just how it evolves. So yeah, that's not unbelievable. That's like a legit cultural experience. We never did it in a pool. We always did it around like a ping pong table with lots of beer.
That's awesome, though.
Fun,
that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
The riff off, I thought the riff off was fantastic. The riff off is also something that, when you watch it, you're like, wow, that is what I would love to have been a part of had we been able to practice that party. You know what I mean? Like, my memory of that party would have been amazing if I didn't wake up under a pickup truck, like it's just, it would have been cool to have practiced. It's great.
So talking about some of the other characters in the film, like, do you feel like, we haven't mentioned Rebel Wilson, who plays Fat Amy.
I want to talk about Rebel Wilson. Yeah.
That she's adopted the name because she doesn't want people to call her that. It's like taking ownership sort of thing. We have her. We have the other ladies of the group, like Stacy and Cynthia and Lily, who is certainly an interesting one. You also have like a very, I guess I'm not sure what to make of the roommate situation with Becca, other than to say sometimes in college you're paired with a roommate that you just don't end up clicking with, and there's always this weird tension there. Yeah, how do you feel like all these other characters kind of are fleshed out in the story? Like, do you feel people are relatively put together well? Or
well, I think Rebel Wilson is sort of the highlight character for me to call out, just because she's such a comic foil, right? Like she serves a very distinct purpose in the script. Everybody else, I think, is a little bit interchangeable. Esther Dean, I think, is really great, and we have her like the mystery of, is she a lesbian, when she doesn't think it's actually a mystery. She thinks the mystery is that she's a gambling addict. I think that's really fun, but that's a beat, you know. I think Rebel Wilson plays a part in like outing the fact that there are some things about her that she knows people talk about, and owning that stuff. And I think that's really great. And I say this before you've seen Pitch Perfect 2 and Pitch Perfect 3. In this movie, there is just the right amount of Rebel Wilson.
Okay.
And I'm just going to table it for now. I'm just going to table it. Because I think that it is well balanced between our principal characters and the feeling of what their group is, and Rebel Wilson's part as a foil, and then the movie ends, and that's fine, and then we can talk about the other ones.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
This is going to be a significant topic for the retake for members. We're going to talk about this some more.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good to know we're setting this up.
Everybody else, for me, Hannah Mae Lee is another one that has a comic through line, which is that nobody can hear what she's saying, and she has the best lines, like "I ate my twin in the womb," and "I always keep a penny under my tongue," and "Do you want to see a dead body?" That she says to Utkarsh Ambudkar, who I think is fantastic in this movie. He is a Broadway veteran. He's done a bunch of stuff with Lin-Manuel Miranda. He plays Donald, Bumper's right-hand man in this movie, and he's awesome charisma on screen as a beatboxer. So love him. So Hannah Mae Lee, I think, is great. She's the other one. I mean, I know she can sing. I don't know how well she beatboxes in real life. I don't know what was augmented about her performance. Because I know that all of the people in this movie can sing. I know that, you know, there was a lot of sort of ADR music stuff after the fact, especially for Brittany Snow's Chloe. Her bass notes were not her own.
Well, and I caught like Rebel Wilson a few times. Like it was clearly recorded after the fact.
Definitely, everything was recorded after the fact. I don't think they did anything recorded live. Especially, you look at the Troublemakers doing again Whip It during the Rush Week thing. That was perfectly mixed. So I would want to call out Ed Boyer, who is one of he and Deke Sharon are the legends of a cappella arranging, mixing, and mastering. I mean, Deke has arranged 2,000 songs, and he's been on all of the major name an a cappella production, TV production or film. He's been involved in it. And Ed Boyer is the arranger and mixer behind a lot of these things, and he is he's a hero. He is incredible at making these sound like much larger performances than they are. And for the movie, I think that really stands out.
Yeah. You know, Lily, I struggle with the character of Lily a little bit. I mean, it's funny. It's kind of a weird character. Like you can never hear what she's saying, but at the same time, we're also like, if that's the case, then I wanted to see her actually singing loudly or something in the audition. So at least I know, okay, she talks quietly, but she can actually perform. Like I never had a sense of that. I'm like, why did they recruit her?
Yeah.
If you could never hear anything that comes out of her mouth, like that to me was like the strangest thing, because it's not until the very last performance when suddenly she does this like kicking things off with this beatbox moment where I'm like, oh, okay, she actually does have things come out of her mouth that people can hear. Like it was a weird way to play that character.
Yeah.
And and that's something with a lot of these supporting characters. I feel like they end up getting written just to be kind of jokes. Like Stacy is just all about the sex all the time. And that, you know, the whole Cynthia and the lesbian angle, like that plays in with Stacy, even because there's that part where they're all running around or whatever. And you keep cutting back and seeing that, like, you know, now Cynthia's, you know, has her hands on Stacy's butt or whatever. It's like things like that. I'm like, I don't know. It felt like there was a lot of stuff. And I know it's a comedy and I know they're doing that. Sometimes it just felt like it was a little too much. And that kind of ties into what the whole thing with the commentators. Like, I think that the two, like Gail and John, are hilarious the way that they play off each other, the way they say things. It feels feels very much like the sort of stuff you would have in like the Christopher Guest stuff that, John Michael Higgins has been in. But at the same time, it also feels like sometimes it feels so written where they're not actually like, there's no sense of these two as characters. It's just they are here just to say funny lines. Like when he says something and she says, "You are truly a misogynist," or whatever. It's it's funny because he's saying something misogynistic, but he doesn't respond to her. It's like they're here just to say lines and not actually anything other than that. And so it's funny and it's fun. And I guess this is that place in the comedy where you just have to kind of acknowledge that it's here for us to just laugh at. We don't have to get more out of it. Yeah, but there is that point where sometimes you wonder, if you think about it too much, it's like,
yeah. Probably don't. And that'll be another bookmark for the next two movies that we'll be talking about how this pattern evolves. I think it's interesting that you bring that up, that it sounds written, because I agree with you, first of all. But you know how we've run into lately, we've run into these areas where the script will give options to lines. I think specifically in and around what we were talking about Captain America, I think, on the Marvel Movie Minute. And there will be this place where it's like this line or that line, right?
Yes, right. An alternate line in the script.
Make sure you answer when I ask you those questions, because I think I'm crazy and totally making that up. But it is real, right? Because that's what this feels like. Like they had options, like a menu of lines, and they just went through and mix and matched those things. And I know that's not true, because I know how exceptional both of these people are at improvisational comedy. It just, you're right. Why does it feel staged? It was funny the first time, and it gets progressively less funny. I don't feel that way about Christopher Guest movies. Like, they're funny. I think they're funny.
Well, and some of it felt like, they gave these two the option to just riff, and like they were just, okay, you say something and she'll reply, you say something, and they were just like going back and forth with lines, and it felt like, okay, now let's just pick the best ones. And it did feel very improv, like some of it felt like, okay, stuff that worked and some of it didn't, but it does feel, and this is, I guess it's kind of just a whole trope, and I don't know where this came from, the whole thing of the witty commentators, but it's been a thing. We talked about it in Major League. We didn't talk about it, but it certainly is a thing in stuff like Dodgeball, where you have the commentators who are really there to just kind of like be another level of joking about what we're actually seeing.
Would you say Dodgeball does it better than this?
Yeah, but I also I'd have to watch it again, because it's been probably as long ago I saw Dodgeball as I originally had seen this.
Okay.
So, but I feel like I remember the Dodgeball. Like, if you were to ask me before I had rewatched Pitch Perfect, I don't know if I would have even remembered that these two were doing commentary.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I think this is a love letter for Elizabeth Banks. I mean, when she found the book, she and her partner found the book, and like she wanted to be every bit a part of it, and goes on to direct the next one. So, and
I think she stays on as I think she's executive producer for all three. So she's very much attached to the franchise. Was she in acapella? Did she do acapella? Do you know?
I want to say she probably did.
I mean, I would just say, like, somebody who's so passionate about it, like, I wonder if she had actually been a singer.
Let's just see. Is there any did Elizabeth Banks sing a cappella version of Rachel Platten hit directed by Banks? So apparently she does sing. I don't know if she was in a cappella in college.
Yeah. I don't see anything about her being a singer on her page, but that's, I don't know, somebody who's so passionate about it, I would think was either, I mean, obviously she's an actress, a performer. Often the times they're already doing theater and sometimes singing on stage and everything. So it's entirely possible she has singing as a background and just loves it and just wanted to further support it. So she didn't have to do a cappella, but I would just be curious. So,
okay.
All right.
Anybody else you want to talk about in the groups that stands out to you?
No. I think it's a good cast. It's interesting faces. They all fit, and I just enjoy this world. I think that Jason Moore, director, crafted it well. Do you follow? Jason Moore hasn't directed much. I know he did some TV, like Dawson's Creek, which I know you were a fan of.
That sounds about right.
Did you see his other movie that he did, Sisters? It was a Tina Fey, Amy Poehler movie.
No.
I totally missed it. That's where the two adult sisters, their mom's going to kick them out of the house or sell the house or something. So they decided to have a big house party. And
yeah,
it looked bad. I didn't bother, but that's really kind of his other, largely the other thing. He's got a new movie coming out sometime this year called Shotgun Wedding.
Is Adam Devine in it?
Jennifer Lopez and Josh Duhamel, however you say it. Darcy and Tom get their lovable but very opinionated families for the ultimate destination wedding just as the couple gets cold feet. But suddenly everyone's lives are in danger when the entire party is taken hostage. The couple must work together to save their loved ones if they don't end up killing each other first.
Oh, that sounds also like a real subject area for TV tropes.
Cheech Marin, yeah. It'll be interesting to see. It's going to be an Amazon Prime movie. So
I think just as we get to changing directions here, I think the performances that are worth bookending that I really like in this movie are the Rebel Wilson portrayal. I think Anna Kendrick is obviously great. I think the whole group environment is great. They rise to the occasion. They sing some fantastic numbers, especially after they make the switch and start really experimenting. And the finale number from both the groups is extraordinary. I mean, they're just really beautiful arrangements of awesome songs that build in just the right places and lead to a well-earned ovation. Like, it doesn't feel like a concert that is just sort of empty calories. It feels like great. If I saw this live, I would be floored. So all of that is great. I think it's worth just noting before you watch Pitch Perfect 2 and 3, just remember how you feel about Adam Devine in this movie, who I think, as Bumper, is he's a solid example of ego, right? But he's also portrayed as very, very talented at what he does, right? And he is he leads the group with, again, the sort of Anna Camp authoritarian hand, but it's all because they're doing very well. So Leverage doing very well, and then he abandons the group. Well, he doesn't abandon the franchise. So I'll be interested to hear what you think about Adam Devine and Bumper as they come back in the next two movies. Anna Camp as Aubrey Posen is back too. Interested to see what you think of what they do with her. It's, spoiler, weird. And then Rebel Wilson, of course, is what happens with Rebel Wilson in the next two movies. That's going to be really, really fun to see. So, I overall love this movie, like unironic, non-guilty love for this movie because it ties so hard into my own sort of a cappella history and culture. And I had a blast watching it again every time I watch it. I've seen it a number of times, so it's great.
What's your favorite song performance in the film? Is it the Bella's final song?
It's probably the Bella's final song, but I also really, really like the Bright Lights, Bigger City Magic mashup that the trebles do at the end. I think it's another really great arrangement. Both those arrangements are fantastic. The Hullabahoos do the final countdown over that last montage. That's them doing that performance, and it is their arrangement. And I think it sounds great. But really, it'd be the final, the Bella's final. I think it's awesome.
The film kind of designs it for us to think so too. I mean, obviously we want them to win, and so they need to have the best performance.
Yeah. But there's one other scene that I just really love, and that is the Party in the USA on the bus, which again, it's a little moment, but it's a moment that legit happens. You put a bunch of acapella people in. Yeah. Oh, you have the
getting
trope.
People together on a vehicle while they all sing together. I was like, oh my God, this is almost famous. There's another one where we have this singing on a vehicle.
But it is something about like a cappella people that it's a trope because it's real. Like every time it is a trope because it's real. We are our own best trope. And I really loved it. True. I loved it.
Yep.
So, all right.
Well, we will be right back. But first, our credits.
Don't let them take your purpose. I'm taking my sweet time. Feels right.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. Music by Aaron Kalim, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our ICCA show.
'Cause life is what you make it. Now I'm realizing that everything I face and set the stage. I know who I am.
Awkward. Is that something a cappella people do?
Not a little bit. No.
Okay, you've never said aka something.
No. And no, it's fine. It's
Boy,
fine.
am I aka hungry.
Funny for the movie and not funny in real life at all. Nobody says that. Nobody says that.
All right, well, let's aqua move on.
I'm going to start. This is going to become a profane show very soon.
Let's talk about the ACCA Awards.
Oh,
Pete.
my God. Hard stare.
This film had 7 wins, 20 other nominations. At the Casting Society of America Awards, it was nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Casting for a Studio or Independent Feature Comedy, which lost to Moonrise Kingdom. I can understand that. And at the MTV Movie and TV Awards, Rebel Wilson won Breakthrough Performance, and also the film won for the Best Musical Moment, and it was when the Barden Bellas break outside of their comfort zones and step up their performance with an a cappella cover of No Diggity. So look at that. I was like, Best Musical Moment. Is that something that's that common? Where are other great musical moments in films from 2012? Any guesses?
No. Musical moments, like use of score, or it has to be like this movie where they're performing music in the movie?
I'll tell you, because clearly
I'm not going to have it. No.
First, Les Mis, Anne Hathaway's live rendition of Fontaine's I Dreamed a Dream breathes beautiful new life into an old ballad. Magic Mike and his hip-thrusting contemporaries deliver a steaming rendition of It's Raining Men. Silver Linings Playbook. Who knew emotional instability could result in killer dance moves? As Pat and Tiffany, Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, pull off a choreographed two-step that's equally part shameless and sultry. And last but not least, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. With the slow swell of Come On Eileen bursting through the high school speakers, the Wallflowers crew peels themselves off the sidelines and lets loose on the dance floor.
Okay, that is a nice musical moment. I'm going to say that.
Would you pick Pitch Perfect still?
Oh, yeah, of course. Dignity? Andy, who am I? Come on. It's always Pitch Perfect.
Okay, I should have guessed. I mean, Anne Hathaway, it was a pretty good performance.
Les Mis, been there, done that.
Best female performance, Rebel Wilson was nominated for that as well, but lost to Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings Playbook. And best WTF moment from the film, as Aubrey Camp gives a barf-tastic display of a cappella angst that tips the scales of cinematic grossness, but lost to Django Unchained. In an excruciating sequence, Fox's Django blasts servile head servant Stephen, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and sets the Candyland mansion ablaze with the strike of a match.
Oh my God. Is this the only place that those two movies will actually go up against each other for something? That is bonkers. That is a bug nuts comparison. I don't stand for it.
The other WTF moments of the year, Flight. Denzel Washington's Whip Whitaker rolls an inverted plane out of a 90-degree nosedive and saves the lives of 96 passengers on board. Skyfall, mutilated and deformed after a botched suicide attempt, Bardem's villain twists his prosthetic mug to show the few teeth he has left in the gut-twisting moment filled with vindictive vengeance. And Ted, fuzzy, flirtatious, and flagrantly inappropriate. Seth MacFarlane's Ted takes his coworker crush one step too far.
Oh my God. Oh, MTV. My
MTV. There you go.
All right. Well, how did it do at the box office? Please tell me it made money because it's awesome.
Well, Jason Moore's film cost only $17 million to make, which is just over $19 million in today's dollars. The movie opened on just over 300 screens September 28th, 2012, opposite Hotel Transylvania, Looper, and Won't Back Down. It started in 6th place. The positive reactions led to the studio expanding it to 2,700 screens the following week, where it jumped up to 3rd place. And it stayed in the top 10 for 7 weeks, except for 1 week where it fell out. But it remained popular, going on to earn $65.3 million domestically and $51 million internationally for a total gross of $130.3 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of $993,000.
Oh,
good start.
Nice. Nice work, a cappella.
People did come through to find love for a cappella, just like Becca did.
Just
that
like
is
Becca did.
awesome.
Just like she did. Well, I love this movie. I could go on for longer, but I won't.
Okay, well, we will be right back for our ratings. But first, here's the trailer for next week's movie, Pitch Perfect 2.
We are coming to you live from the nation's capital, where the Barton University Bellas are performing for the President of the United States on his birthday.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Oh no, she has no underwear on.
Oh my God.
We have a commando situation. She's turning.
No.
Brace yourself.
She's coming.
The Australian singer gave the president a birthday gift from down under.
The Bellas are suspended. You're being replaced by the European champions.
We are the sound machine.
How are we gonna compete with them? I'm not supposed to have any ideas. I'm a hot one.
I'm pretty sure I'm the hot one.
If we win the world championships, will you reinstate us?
If you win it. Oh!
Barton Bellas, you are so tiny.
We're gonna kick your ass.
Your team is like how do you say that? A heated mess. A mess where heat is applied to it. So what once was a little messy is now even messier.
Never trust a big button smile. That girl is always on.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario?
Please just retire.
Did your accents get thicker? Is that like a intimidation thing? Because World War II. Boom. When I look back on this, I won't remember performing and competing. I'm gonna remember you weirdos.
Me too.
Me too. Me too. Guys, there's gonna be some haters out there. They're gonna look at us, Team USA, and be like, why is the most talented one Australian?
Who run the world? Girls! Who run this mother?
Boy, these girls have broken down every single barrier in their path.
Who run the world?
What an inspiration to girls all over the country who are too ugly to be cheerleaders.
Who run the world? Girls! We run this mother. Girls!
All right, Andy, Letterboxd. Let me just tell you, I was let down by your reviews. I've already seen it, and I don't care for it. It's not enough stars. My review actually said not enough stars, and I gave it the appropriate amount of stars.
I know.
Which is fine.
I enjoy it. It's a fun film. I don't love it. I feel like there were so many tropes as I was watching it that I was kind of like, I had to stop eye rolling as I went through it, or I was going to pass out from all the eye rolls that I was doing.
That's an extraordinary statement. That
okay,
that you don't have the stamina to withstand your eye rolling. Your eye rolling must be legendary.
Let's just say,
sir.
I was tired. No, it's fine. I mean, it's a fun film. I really enjoy it. I think that Cannon put together a nice group of characters that I think it makes sense to do sequels with. It seems like it'd be a fun group to follow as they kind of go through school and see what they do. I don't love it. I think that it builds to a great climax with the that final performance and stuff. And it's something that I probably will return to more to listen to rather than to rewatch. So 3.5 stars and a heart. I mean, and 3.5 is a great zone for me. Like the films that are in that 3.5 star zone, I tend to really show them a lot more love for than even some films that I rate 5 stars for. So, it still is a good rating. You shouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed anyway. I think that it is, this is one of those movies where if I have somebody in my house who has never seen it, it is an easy watch. And they always end up liking it. Like that's one of the hallmarks of a really fun movie is that it's a fun community movie, and it's just really really fun to it's really fun to share. And so, go for Pitch Perfect. I'm a go for Pitch Perfect 5 by 5. Weird mashup.
I'm Aka Go.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, don't forget to visit thenextreel.com/letterboxd to get your Aka Patron or Aka Pro memberships. And it does work for Aka renewals as well.
You just got peace out. Outed. That's what happened. That's just what happened. I peace out you. Okay. Well, this was fun. finish the show because I'm actually done with you.
Well, and we should just real quickly mention, you brought up, we'll have more conversations about some of these things in retakes.
Yeah.
We do our retake episode after the season or after the series is over, where we do kind of a recapping of the whole series and kind of discuss our overall thoughts of it. And then we also add them to our flick chart. And those are something that it's a member bonus episode. So if you are interested in hearing those, we also do a monthly member bonus episodes. We are closing out our Cloverfield franchise for September with the Cloverfield Paradox after having looked at 10 Cloverfield Lane last month and Cloverfield long time ago in our found footage series. So members get those, and we also do flick chart re-rankings. So there's all sorts of wonderful stuff that members get. Plus, they get all their episodes early, and they don't have all the ads through the episodes. So there's a lot of benefits to signing up to become a member. You can learn more about that at thenextreel.com/membership.
So what do you think about Pitch Perfect? We want to know. Hop into the Show Talk channel in our Discord server where we'll be talking about this movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins. Letterboxd giveth, Andy.
As Aka Letterboxd always doeth.
So you're going to continue on that path.
Aka, yes.
I have a half star from WKDP.
WKRP?
Does it even matter anymore? You're dead to me. WKDP Issa gave it a half star, who says, I thought I would like this movie for some reason, but I didn't realize it was about a cappella singing in all caps, and now I want to gouge my ears out. It was so bad.
Oh.
I know. I just think the funny part is you didn't realize it. What was it about the Universal logo that made you think it was about something other than a cappella singing? You troll.
Well, I have a 5-star by Nia, who just says this: Jesse would love Letterboxd.
Oh, that's true. Skylar Skylar Aston has a great voice. I think he really does. And if you look up his profile on his account on Apple Music or Spotify, he's got a whole bunch of singles in there, and you can tell he's trying to get a music career off. He's just mishandled because the stuff that he's singing is like bubblegum pop crap that's not very good, and I want him to sing something more substantive because he sounds much better in the movie than he does in his other stuff. So Skylar Aston, keep singing.
Keep singing.
Thanks, Letterboxd. It is hard to believe we've been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
Oh, you're telling me. Producing this show week after week is so much fun, but it does require a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you, and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
The Originals page at thenextreel.com/originals links to the source material from all of our adapted film discussions. Purchasing through our links support the show at no extra cost to you.
In Season 12, the focus was big franchises and series. We covered both Paddington films, adapted from the beloved children's book character created by Michael Bond.
Oh, I love those films so much.
Hugh Grant is perfect.
For our Pitch Perfect series, the first film was adapted from Mickey Rapkin's nonfiction book about collegiate a cappella competitions.
It's like a short story of my life, literally. I lived college a cappella.
Sing it, brother.
I lived college a cappella.
I didn't mean literally.
You know who you're talking to, right? The Twilight Saga dominated the season with 5 films adapted from Stephenie Meyer's vampire romance novels, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and the 2 Breaking Dawn parts.
Dominated with awkward romance and nonsense logic is more like it.
That too.
Another Thin Man brought us back to Dashiell Hammett's only Thin Man sequel based on other Hammett material, The Farewell Murder, that wasn't just based on the characters from the first film.
We talked about Trainspotting and its sequel, T2 Trainspotting, adapted from Irvine Welsh's novels.
I hate the sequel's name.
I do too.
And the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy adapted from J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy series.
Love these.
Extended editions all the way, baby.
Plus, all the Mission Impossible films based on the 1960s TV series.
And we've still got at least one more to go.
Members got to hear us chat about The Hustler and The Color of Money, adapted from Walter Tevis's books.
Get all of these books and more at our originals page, thenextreel.com/originals.
Start your next read from the movies we've covered at thenextreel.com/originals.